your experience, how hard is it to get guys up for, a non-playoff type environment like this week?
If you have the right guys, it's not an issue. You guys, whatever you put on tape is your resume in this league, and you got to go out and play hard and do it for compete for your teammates. So I don't expect anything like that, any letdowns that way.
It's a week of uncertainty, obviously, around here. How do you handle when there might be there's not finality of what's going to happen with this coaching staff going forward?
I'm certain we're going to have practice tomorrow and a game on Sunday, and that's all I'm worried about at this point.
I'm sure you've been through instances before where changes have been made. How do you handle it as an individual?
Yeah, you worry about that stuff when it comes up, but right now the focus is on this week and the making sure that we do the right thing by the guys that are playing and competing hard, and have done that all year.
You mentioned earlier this season going into the Vikings game, which probably wasn't the ideal situation, that Tannehill had to perform better on third downs for the unit to perform better on third downs. What are the things that you need to see from him on that down for that sort of the elevated play to show up?
It's just the ability to make plays. Sometimes it's different. Sometimes guys are doing a great job creating separation. So, number one's open the progression and you make the throw that you need to make. Sometimes the protection isn't great and you have to extend a play and make an off-schedule play. And third downs are very unique in this league for that reason, because a lot of them do happen off schedule. And if you can get number one open, it obviously helps, and you protect the right way and everyone executes the play, then your job's simple. You should get to number one. But the things you do as a quarterback, we're judged on third down, 2 minute on those things. And so sometimes that's where you have to improvise and make plays off schedule. And it takes 11 guys doing their job to do that.
When you're talking about off schedule plays, you're meaning buy time in the pocket, improvise throw.
Buy time in the pocket. Sometimes it's 1 and 2 might be covered, getting to number 3 and having a good feel in the pocket of it, pushing up one, over one, and finding a lane to throw the ball in. Sometimes it's extending the play with your legs, and sometimes it's, just doing those things. Sometimes it's being smart and the things breaking down and taking a smart sack and understanding that, you're not going to lose punting, even though you want to continue to convert third downs and get more opportunities to have first, second down and create more plays for yourself, but it's just managing the down.
Do you think that's been a reason why this season has taken a turn? But with the 2 turnovers against Cincy, not getting a first down in the fourth quarter against Indy, and the pick 6 last week?
I think our third down production has definitely been a reason why we haven't accumulated more plays, and it's something that we need to be better on this week, and it hasn't. We haven't met our goal and how good we could have been with that stuff, but we have one more opportunity to correct that, and we need to go out. We had a good day of practice today, and we need to go out and execute.
You learned about your offense, I guess, up to this point in the season.
A bunch of guys, learned a bunch of different players, because a bunch of things happen that you go into a season and you think, hey, like, this is our guys, and there's going to be change, and all of a sudden there's a lot more change than you expect, just with the roster and how things went. But you learned how resilient the group was, how they stuck together and they battled. There's a lot of mental toughness, because this season hasn't been the season that we wanted or would have hoped for. We need to finish the right way, but just found out a lot about the guys, the makeup of it, and it'll be another test this week. But everyone's saying it's a meaningless game, in which I don't think that exists. I think every time you get 17 opportunities to do this, and with injuries in this league, like, the players, they're not promised 17, but for the most part your team is, and so you just go out and compete and do it for each other, and so I think we found out a lot about our team that way.
What did you learn, I guess, from Ryan, about Ryan?
How resilient he is, how tough he is, how much he cares, how important it is to him. He's battled through so many things this year, as far as injuries and being beat up, and the ups and downs of the season, to being 3-0 to, losing back-to-back games and doing those things. So just found out a lot about his character.
Going back to the third down situation, as you were talking about, I couldn't help but think back to 2 instances in Dolphin history. One, when Daniel was playing, he knew that if he threw to O.J. McDuffie, they were going to move the chains. And then more recently, Ryan had a pretty fair comfort margin with Jarvis Landry, where there was a good chance that Jarvis was going to be able to move the chains. Does this team maybe need that guy who, whether everybody in the stadium knows he's going to get the ball or not, is the dependable third down, move the chains kind of guy?
Sir, I understand the question. Obviously, I wasn't here. I was probably 3 when Marino was playing, and I can't speak on Jarvis, but in that relationship, I also have seen the tape, and he was a huge asset on third down and every down. He obviously had a bunch of catches here, but I think it's just the execution, and that's doing a good job putting those guys in situations to be successful. And it's a combination of a lot of different things. It's not just one thing. It's protecting better, doing all those things. So there's a lot of things that we need to clean up for this game. When the season's over, you go back, you look at self-scout, you figure out, hey, could we have used someone a different way? Is there a way going forward, can we use this guy better? But right now the sole focus is to make sure that we use the guys we have with the protection that we have and the quarterback we have and the tight ends we have to move the chains on third down for this game.
So the offense has scored 1 touchdown in each of the last 2 games.
Yes, sir.
And I know that there's a lot of different reasons for that.
Yes, sir.
One thing overarching that absolutely needs to be fixed to make that a different fact is what?
Such a broad question. I mean, there's a lot of things. I don't think it's one thing. And, if I had to pin things down on, it's just everyone, starting with the coaches, down to the players, down to the, each position group, just execute and understand the plan better. And, it's such a broad, I know it's a really broad answer, and I wish I could give you more on that. And that's in the off season, you study and dive into self-scout and do all that stuff. But it really comes down to, it's the third down thing is a big deficiency for us because you limit yourself and you end up playing 50 to 57 plays, 55 plays instead of playing a game where if you convert on third downs like we had, when we've won, I think that it's shown up more. I think the one thing this team has done a really good job on is cut down on penalties and the turnover ratio. That's probably kept our record to what it is right now, which isn't where we want it to be. But, I think those are things that you can build off of, but definitely the execution of third down, staying on the field in first, second down, and the explosive plays have gone down as well, the last 5 or 6 weeks. And we've had a couple big runs here and there, but not like we were getting early in the year. We were getting those chunk plays and, doing a good job taking care of the ball and not beating ourselves. And then we were like relying on those chunk plays to sometimes, cover up, not doing a great job on third down or being deficient here or there. Like you have those, long plays that equal touchdowns, and those things get masked for a week or two. And then, when those things start drying up, that's when the execution of each play becomes more important.
Is it fair to say, or are there too many personnel groupings that kind of pull people in and out the games where they can't really get into a groove, a la maybe Devontae Parker playing every snap against Houston and then kind of trailing off like that?
My opinion would be no. I think it's important sometimes when you have a 53-man roster and, you get your 46 actives that every person has a role. If they're going to be active, they're going to do that. That's kind of the philosophy we've taken here is if they're going to be up, let's try to give them a role. Sometimes you get to that package, sometimes you don't. Bolden's gotten some weeks he hadn't played at all. On offense that way, but I wouldn't say that. I think that's actually a strength that we have is defense have to prepare for all that stuff. And if they're repping cover 4, they have to do it versus every personnel group we have. Or if they're going to rep a blitz, they have to do it versus everything we do. So I think that's probably a strength of ours and an advantage we have. Obviously, when players are hot and you want to roll them, like you don't want to take them out and do those things. But I think that's a strength we have.
In retrospect, with the real efficiency you guys have had running the football, did you guys run the ball enough this year?
I mean, that's such a broad question. We'll go back and look at the end of the season to kind of figure out where we're at. Sometimes the efficiency thing is, I think we did a pretty good job with it. Sometimes you should look at yards per carry and you take out some of those chunk plays, and all of a sudden you got to find a median of what don't let a 75-yard run that you average 9 yards in a game. All of a sudden take that thing out and really figure out hey, what do we really, how do we really run the football? Did we control line of scrimmage like we wanted? We're able to play on our terms. I think early in the year when we were a little more balanced, I think it was probably better than it has been lately, even though we have, our numbers are still pretty decent, I think. I don't look at the stats much till the end of the season, but I think it's been better because of, 75-yard touchdown run here or there, against Minnesota and those things.
It's not a secret. Quick follow-up, I'm sorry, but
Sir.
those big plays do happen when you run the football. I
Yes, yes.
You,
And I think
they're a
it's
big part of your offense.
and right now the backs are doing a really good job. We have guys that are explosive. Kalen's done a nice job coming in. Drake's obviously a playmaker, and Gore to this point. Bolden's had a couple, so it's definitely something that helps. It's just the efficiency is when I say that is don't look at a 75-yard run and you have a 7-yard average when all of a sudden you take that away and it's like, hey, we really average 2.7 yards. So if you run the ball on first, second down, you're looking 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. So there's some things that the stats can be manipulated that way. The percentage, the yards per carry can be manipulated that way a little bit as well.
Secret, I guess, that Gase loves to throw the ball. How often have you had to talk to him about running the ball this season?
I do think Adam, yes, does he love to throw the football? Absolutely, yes. I think that's what we want to be. I do think that he understands the strength of the team at this point right now, and it is the run game for multiple different reasons. So, I think he's done a pretty good job balancing that stuff. And there's definitely, in the passing game and run game, there's definitely things we need to improve that we need to improve this week to make sure we play well against Buffalo.
Have you done a good enough job owning or controlling the line of scrimmage this season? I mean, especially lately, the sacks have been piling up.
Yeah, we've had too many sacks here of late. The sacks are definitely, when you say own line of scrimmage, I will put the quarterback in it. I'll put the coaches in it, the tight ends, the running backs, the O-line. Have we done a collective good enough group the last 2 or 3 weeks? Absolutely not. It's something we can improve on in each position group, starting with the coaches, from Coach Gase to myself, and down the line the position coaches to every position group. When we've had way too many sacks the last, 3 weeks, it's something we need to improve on this week.
I know it's everybody's responsibility and
Yes.
everybody's fault, but there seems to be clearly something. It's not play calling. It's not the offensive line. I mean, what is going on where this has become such? Because it's never been this much of an issue till now.
Yeah, I do think it's a combination of everything. It's not one thing. I wish if it was one thing you point out, you get it fixed, but it's the offensive line can be better passing games and protecting on stunts. A couple of running backs can do a better job in protection, understanding the tight ends the same way. Ryan has at the very end, he has the ball in his hands, and it's his responsibility on first, second down. Hey, don't take sacks. Get the ball out. Or third down, sometimes it's better to take a smart sack and punt because we tell them, hey, if we end every series with a kick, it's not going to be the way we want, but we're not going to lose a game doing that, and we got to take advantage of our plays when they're there. So it really is everybody, and I know it's probably not the answer that we're all looking for, but it's not one thing that you can say, hey, I can tell you what each group needs to work on and where our deficiencies are, but it's still the collective group of 11 players and coaches included in that group.
Do you think teams are playing you guys differently because of this issue? I mean, obviously, when you're struggling at something, teams keep doing it to you too.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I mean, you guys know it. Like, you guys watch the tape. You guys see it. Like, there are things that we need to improve on that we have weaknesses on, like I said, like we haven't protected as well up front in games. The blitz stuff. We had a couple weeks where we had some issues with the backs. So there's things like that. Definitely people game plan your strengths and weaknesses off tape.
Talk about the impact of losing Albert and Jakeem and some of the O-line.
Yeah.
What impact do you think injuries have had on how the season went?
I mean, the excuse is there if you want to use them. Like, it's not going to do us any good. Obviously, those are really good players we lost. The two guys, the two receivers are guys who score touchdowns. And it's the theme of this interview has been, hey, the explosive plays were happening earlier that covered up some things and hid deficiencies. And you lose the guys like Josh Sitton and Daniel Kilgore, like, that's going to hurt you. It was 17-0 when Laramie Tunsil went down the Cincinnati game. Like, definitely, all those things hurt. Like, but every team in the NFL deals with it, and it's part of the game. And that's why you have backups, and everyone's got the same amount of players and same cap space. So you got to do a good job developing your players and make sure you have quality backups.
They're saying that those guys coming back next year won't fix, the offensive issues that you guys had this year.
Can you repeat it, please?
The guys, like getting all those guys back, that alone won't fix the offensive issues.
I think that, anytime you get your starters back, you're saying, hey, we got 5 or 6 starters coming back that, off a team that you lose 5 or 6 starters to start the season or week 3, 4, 5, whenever it happened, like, absolutely, that's going to help a ton. But there's also things that we can coach better. There's also things that we can execute better. And there's, we need to do a good job developing our players as well. So it's not just one thing. Like, it's going to be multiple things that we need to improve on in the offseason.
How have Adam and Matt kind of taken to this week, knowing a win could be much more different for their future than a loss could be.
Same way they do every week. No week in this league is better than the other, whether it's week 1 or week 17. Like, those guys are professionals. They're going to go work their tails off and prepare the right way and make sure we put our players in the best situation to be successful. It's no different.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for everything this year.
Thanks for having me. You guys have been awesome. I tried to set up like